Hey, what's up, party people? It's Tito Puente Jr. Don't go anywhere because Profiles is coming right up. Wepa!
Welcome to Profiles. I'm Marley Hall. Today's guest is Tito Puente Jr., probably the best-known name in salsa music. Tito is currently celebrating the release of his latest CD titled In My Father's Shoes. Through this album, the younger Puente pays tribute to his famous father, the king of Latin music, Tito Puente. After a short break, we'll join our host Mickey Burns as he welcomes the personable Tito Puente Jr. to Profiles. Welcome back to Profiles. Tito Puente Jr. is on a passionate mission. He's determined to nurture the musical legacy left by his father. The comparison is inevitable. It's in his looks, his joy, and his music. There's no doubt whenever Tito Jr. walks on the stage, he walks in his father's footsteps. So let's join our host Mickey Burns on location from the heart of New York City as he welcomes Latin music sensation Tito Puente Jr. to Profiles.
Tito Puente Jr., welcome to our show, Profiles.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you today. For our viewers, probably the best known name, if they don't know already, in salsa music, the Puente family.
Yeah. I think I'm the youngest of three. I am the youngest of three. So I keep the music going, absolutely.
And you've been establishing your own sound of Latin rhythm with a hip-hop beat. Categorize your sound and tell us about it.
Well, my father, of course, was the king of Latin music, and from the 1950s all the way to his passing in 2000. So I kind of took his music into modern format and twisted it up. And I was born and raised in New York, so I gave it that little modern, urban feel to it. So,
sure did.
I don't know if there's a category for that in the Grammys or anything like that yet,
well,
but
they will
I'm going to build one.
Yeah. And you're also celebrating the release of your album, which is titled In My Father's Shoes.
Yes.
Which is an album that you basically pay tribute to your famous father, Tito Puente.
Absolutely.
How's the album going? Tell us about it.
It's been great. It was kind of, I was a little reluctant after his passing in 2000 to record his music, since I was doing Latin dance music prior to performing this style of music and picking up the timbale sticks. I've always been a percussion player, but with the blessing of my mother and my brother and my family, I saw a lot of tributes coming out from my dad, a lot of tributes, a lot of people doing a lot of tributes, including the Grammy Awards. I thought one straight from the son to the father would have been a perfect, match, and that's why I call it In My Father's Shoes. So I took his old music from the 50s, which really gave the essence of Tito Puente, and I did it in my own little style.
A lot of love in that album.
Absolutely. It was totally dedicated to him.
Now, regarding your father, interestingly, you recently said, people who don't know anything about Latin music know my father. And people always smile when they say his name. And you went on to say, that is a very special gift, and it inspires and motivates me to bring his music to the world.
Absolutely. I always felt like when my father walked into a room, his personality lit up. And that's what really made the essence of Tito Puente and who he was. It's his style of playing, his persona. He was a great genius musician and a composer, vibraphone player. He did so many different things, but I think his personality is what really shined through, and that's what made him all-around entertainer.
Yeah.
And it was just incredible. It's very big shoes to fill, very big.
But you're doing a good job with it, and you're also becoming a force within Latin music yourself. And your style, basically Latin dance.
Sure.
Is that a good way?
Latin dance, yeah.
And I read somewhere that you said that basically this music is something that's been created from the streets. Explain that to us.
My father first started off playing the Latin music in El Barrio here in New York, and he created the whole mambo sound, the Latin sound, and they used to call it una descarga en la esquina, which is like a party right in the corner on the street. So Latin music in general, the Afro-Cuban sound that my father created was from the streets of New York and Spanish Harlem. So I kind of just like gave it a little more hip-hop, modern twist to it. Me growing up in New York City, I always had different cultures and different vibe, and a lot of English rappers and Spanish rappers. I've worked with so many of them, so I wanted to just combine the two, and that's why I kind of consider it from the street, but I'm taking that little twist of making it urban pop kind of style. Okay. But yeah, it is from New York. It is New York-based Latin dance music.
You were raised here in New York.
Yes, absolutely.
Several years ago, however, you did relocate to Miami.
I had to. You know, I was shoveling 2 months snow, and that was it. I still love New York. It's still my heart. My family's all here. And I think the essence of New York City and the mambo music will always be built here. My father has his own street named after him here,
I know
so
he does.
Go figure.
What an honor. How important was that move to Miami for your music?
I think I needed a change right after his passing because New York was very, flooded with Latin music, and I wanted a little bit change. I wanted to get closer to my island of Puerto Rico and to the island of Cuba también. I thought maybe relocating to the tropical mecca of Latin music where all the record labels were at and being creative around the Estefans and Ricky Martin and everybody that I've known throughout these past couple of years in Miami. I loved being there. I felt like the vibe was still there, and that's why I wanted to create the record down there. But go figure, I flew some of the original members of my father's orchestra down to Florida. I wanted to give it that New York essence, that New York mambo vibe.
Is there a big difference between the New York Latin sound and the Miami sound?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's very Cuban-based music in Florida, charanga style. The great Cachao, of course, created that whole mambo sound, and he created that whole Miami sound, including Emilio Estefan as well. But I think the New York-based mambo sound was created by the 3 big Palladium orchestras, Machito, Tito Puente, and Tito Rodriguez. So.
Okay. Now, as you mentioned, you did grow up in New York.
Yeah.
And I happen to know that during your high school years that you had a rock band.
Yeah, I did. I had some long hair going on, and I always loved rock music. I mean, I think being born and raised in New York, you're so diverse. You got 100 different radio stations with all types of music, from Latin to pop to polka music. I mean, you have everything. So I always loved the whole new the new rock sound. I'm a big fan of Aerosmith and Bon Jovi and Guns N' Roses and all that. I loved all that sound. So I think that's what I really started out playing was trap kit percussion.
Okay.
And it was funny because we used to rehearse in the garage up in Rockland, and my dad used to come downstairs and he'd be like, "What's all that noise?" And I'd be like, "How do you know what we're playing? You know Latin music. You don't know rock." And he's like, "Well, you're off beat."
Yeah. You weren't underestimating your dad's
yeah,
ability as
no,
a
absolutely
percussionist.
not.
Oh, okay.
It could be all noise, but he knows if I'm on time.
You bet. You bet. Now, your family still lives in New York, some of them.
Sure.
And your sister is
Yeah.
on TV in New York.
She's the big-time meteorologist. I can't walk down the street with her anymore. They're like, "It's you." I'm like, "Thank you." "No, your sister."
She's quite a celebrity.
She's quite a celebrity. She's the meteorologist of New York. It's funny because she hops from different network to different network, so you got to keep changing the channels to find her. I don't know where she is now.
But she's there.
I don't even know. She's somewhere. She's somewhere.
Now, had you not gravitated into music like you did, and I guess it would have been a surprise if you hadn't, what might have you done with your life had you not followed your father's footsteps?
Wow. Well, besides get in trouble, I don't know. I was always fascinated with forensics. I was very good in science class, too. So I'd always like making potions. I probably would have been some scientist of some sort, but
didn't last long.
I just love entertaining, and I love the fact that I grew up around a genius like Tito Puente, and going on the road with him was one of the most incredible experiences, and you can't learn that from school.
No, you can't.
Just being on the road with him all the way from when I was 5 years old.
What an education.
To his passing. I know, you're
What
learning from the master.
Now, let's you and I pay tribute to him right now a little bit.
Sure.
Because your dad, certainly more than earned first place among Latin musicians, without question. But he worked, which I wasn't aware of until I did some research for this interview, that he worked continuously from 1937 to 2000 and recorded over 100 albums. Why did he never or ever slow down?
I think towards the end of his life, I can only vouch for, mind you, I was born in the 70s in 71. His career already skyrocketed prior to me being born, even before my mom. So it was quite amazing, you know, to be born into a family like that. But to me, from when I was with him and when he was alive, I think towards the end of his career, it wasn't even about the money. It was just about performing. He liked doing 2 albums a year. He has over 158 albums and 7-time Grammy Award winner, 14 nominations. I can keep going on and on about him. But I don't think he wanted to stop because he always felt like he always had another thing to conquer. Towards the end of his life, he was doing symphonic charts, performing with the Dallas Symphony, San Antonio Symphony, even the New York Philharmonic.
Something else to learn.
Always something else to learn.
What a great attitude.
Always trying to reinvent himself, just like Madonna.
Yeah.